All right, this meeting is being recorded. Please be advised that your image and voice will be captured and recorded during the video conference. Your participation in this video conference equals consent to be recorded. All right, let's go to next slide. Okay, so we have an agenda with a good amount of room for discussion today. I think we might hold the roll call until we get to committee discussion, so we'll wait a little bit on that. And also the meeting minute approval. So we'll move those down after our Workforce Services Division update. We have our office update. We have new staff introductions and an update from the Workforce Services Division. And then we will be taking a look at our schedule for the 2026 meeting year, including what we'll be doing. It is a report writing year, so we have a few meetings built in. And then we have some space built in for just general updates on things, legislative policy, disaster recovery, a brief update on a partnership with Paid Family and Medical Leave division here at the agency to ensure that our folks have the correct information. And then we will be into public comment and go to the order. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to skip over meeting minute approval for a bit, and let's go ahead to the office update. So Bertha?
Thanks, Joy. Good morning, everyone. I have an office update for this meeting. Please know that this is the last meeting in our 2025 schedule. And later on in this meeting, provided we have a quorum, we will hopefully be adopting a 2026 schedule. I just have one slide today, but I wanted to basically provide a lay of the land for the focus areas for ASWS in 2026. And this is a slide that I've shared with my team the last few weeks, and we've talked about each of these topics, but I wanted to present them to you. So first is, as we all know, we have a new AWR rule that the interim final rule, which was released at the beginning of October, about 2 days or maybe a day after the government shutdown. And that new rule has a lot of changes to the program. I would say that it's the probably the most significant changes that the H-2A program has seen, certainly in the time that I've been involved with the H-2A program, but maybe ever. So this new rule, we covered it at our last meeting in detail, but the really the high points of it is that it establishes a experience level for job orders, experience level 1, experience level 2, and depending on which experience level is certified, the wage will be different. That's the kind of the first thing. The second thing is that it establishes a adverse housing adjustment. And I want to be very careful as I talk about this and as I have been talking about it, because it is not a deduction. It is a adjustment that is made only to H-2A workers. And the idea here, the intent or the claimed intent is to provide greater equity as far as adjusting the rate of pay so that U.S. workers are in a better standing as if they're not eligible for housing, just to make that more equitable. So we've had a lot of questions about that. We've attended a lot of training with USDOL. They've had some seminars, and so we're ready to roll out that education and monitor that compliance. Right now, most of our work is centered in pre-certification, and as a whole, I would say that filers are successfully and in compliance stating this correctly on their filings. When on the post-certification side, when workers get here, we will be monitoring and providing support to employers to confirm that they are managing this adverse adjustment correctly. The other thing that is a first, certainly a first for me, maybe those of you that have been in this industry for longer, maybe they've had a different, maybe at one point the Washington minimum wage was the highest applicable wage, but 2026, because of the new AWR, because of the adverse housing adjustments, the state minimum wage, which is, I believe, $17.13 in 2026, may be the highest applicable wage. And so, we've had such a we've had a AWR that has been pretty high in comparison to most other states. So usually it's been the AWR that's been the highest applicable wage. But what we're going to be seeing in 2026 is that the state minimum wage is going to be the highest applicable wage, which is something I've never seen before. But that is the floor, meaning that is the least that could be paid. So we're doing education about that. ESD submitted public comment on the AWR interim final rule in December. That was timely submitted. We've been watching. There's not been a notification from the federal government yet about that rule becoming final, but we expect hopefully some updates within the next couple of months. Second thing is that we're making some adjustments to our site visit assignments where we're redistributing the work among our compliance specialists. As you heard last month, we have 2 supervisors on our compliance team that each supervise teams of 3, and our focus has been covering for not having a compliance specialist located on the west side of the mountains. So we're looking at that. We're also looking at our supervisors having site visit assignments of their own and really kind of backing up and filling in more than the supervisor position ever has, particularly in our really busy areas such as Yakima County and the Central Basin. So we are our goal for 2026 remains unchanged from prior years. Our goal, our mission is to do at least one standard site visit to every single job order. So that is, we had 400 and some job orders last year, so that's a lot of site visits, but in theory, we want every single group of H-Tray workers to receive our presentation, and we want to make contact and provide technical assistance to every single employer post-certification. The other thing the other kind of wrinkle in site visits and how we're planning them in 2026 is that now USDOL has made a policy shift where now staggering of worker groups is permissible. Staggering is where you have one job order and you have certain groups, or you have groups of workers arriving at different times. And so since I think 2011, when the USDOL came out with a guidance document about this, staggering was not permitted. It was basically, if you needed to stagger workers, you would have had to file staggering was not allowed, but you could file different job orders with different dates of need. Now the federal government has shifted and is now providing flexibility of being able to have different arrival dates on one job order, so long as those arrival dates are disclosed at the time of filing. So the wrinkle that creates for our team is that, we've got, we've may have to come back and do, depending on how far apart the worker arrivals are, we may need to make repeat site visits to the same employer to ensure that we are able to present to all the workers. The third thing, very exciting, is that ESD, and as you know, we've been teasing this for many months now, ESD, ASWS has resumed housing inspections of all range housing. And I'm actually going to pause because I see a question. Rosalinda, go ahead.
I was listening to that last report you were doing. Is this going to increase workload for ESD, these changes?
I think there's the potential for that. If we have to make, so for example, if there's maybe a week or two difference between different groups of workers coming, we would probably wait until, probably a month into the job order to schedule the site visit. But if those staggered arrivals are, a month, 2 months, 3 months, then we're likely going to need to schedule a follow-up visit so that we can so that we have that time with those later arriving workers. So yes, I suspect that in those situations, there's not staggering on every single contract, right? I mean, it's a subset, but I would anticipate, or I am anticipating, that we will be doing a higher volume of site visits.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So returning to range housing, so these are, we have, probably a dozen or so of range housing inspections. Range housing falls under a separate set of regulations in the CFR. Range housing, think about range housing as, out on the range. And usually it's RVs, mobile, because it's, for sheep herders or, people that need to be, not in fixed site housing. So traditionally, L&I, or not traditionally, but historically, L&I would do these inspections, and they would provide a report to ESD, and we would use that data to make a certification decision. Range housing is not a type of housing that needs to be licensed in Washington State. So it's a unique kind of niche area, and it's been problematic in the last few years because there's not any state regulations that really speak to or address RVs as temporary worker housing. So what we've done is we have created a checklist that lists the federal standards for range housing and also the applicable state standards, usually around water and excrement. And so we have trained our 100% of our staff. Those range housing inspections are underway. And so far it's going pretty smoothly. So we are, moving forward with that. At some point in the future, it's possible that DOH may participate in rulemaking to kind of fold range housing into temporary worker housing, their temporary worker housing regulations. But at this point, that inspection work is being done by my team. fourth thing is we're focusing on improvements to our House Bill 2226 data collection. So this is a House bill from 2024 that was passed, amended our statute to require our team to collect certain data from employers about where workers are working and where they are living as of the date of the site visit or the field check. Part B of that of the statute also imposes survey obligations, which are not handled by ASWS, but rather by our data department and with a contractor. But as you've heard me say before, I think our process is good for collecting this data, but it's the analysis piece and it's the reporting piece that I haven't been happy with, particularly because the bill doesn't provide guidance as to how how this should be analyzed. Really, that's kind of on this committee to analyze it, but I want to present it in a way that's most helpful. And so we're looking at improving and perhaps looking at some agency rulemaking to shore that up a bit better. Number 5, field checks. So we did 16. I think we did 6. Please let me know, Susana, if I'm misquoting the data, but I believe we had 16 field checks that were performed in program year 2025. That's a good number of field checks. However, there has been a policy shift at the Employment Training Administration at USDOL regarding when the SWA has authority or when it maintains authority to do a field check. So, historically, it's always been if there's been a placement that's been referred by WorkSource, hired by the employer and starts working, then whether that placement is still working, that US placement is still working there as of the date of the site visit was irrelevant because the placement had already been made. Now, the guidance from the US Department of Labor has been that the SWA maintains authority to do a field check on that job order only if the domestic placement is still working as of the date of the site visit. So we are grappling with how to position our program to be able to do that field check as soon as possible. These of course are unannounced, so that's a limitation, but it's likely that there will be fewer field checks in 2026 and moving forward unless that policy guidance unless it changes. So we're working on that and how to best address that and how to maintain the quality of our processes. So let's see, number 6, and this is something, obviously, this is square within the committee's duties. 2026, believe it or not, where this is a report writing year. The last report we did was in 2024. So staff will be shepherding our committee through that process. This will be, I think, the 3rd report that Vicki and I have worked on. And I think that this will be your 4th report in total. So we'll talk more about that as the meeting rolls on. Any questions about ASWS in 2026? I think it's going to be a great year.
Hey, Berta, this is Uriel. I have a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
One of them is related, in one of the last meetings, you guys were developing a document that you were going to distribute on your outreach. Just checking on that to see where we're at with that document.
Document pertaining to which topic or issue?
it was a general document that you guys were creating as a handout to workers in regards to the general rights and in regards to the contract, worker rights, and things like that. So,
Yes, I think you're referring to what we've been referring to as a trifold. We've been working with our communications department to develop that. And Susanna can give an update during her segment as she and compliance members have been managing that project. But we're nearly done. And when the new AWR rule was released, we had to evaluate, how much we wanted to update or how much we needed to update. But thank you for bringing that up. Susanna will share an update during her segment, and we'll definitely share a copy of that trifold with the committee. It looks really good, in my opinion.
okay, well, I'll ask Susanna on that. And just if you guys are going to have any information related to LNI, if you guys have cross-check with us with one of our programs on the
That's a good note. I don't think there's anything related to referrals to other agencies, but Susanna, if you could make a note of that to confirm that if we've got any other agency info, we need to make sure we're conferring with them.
Okay. And the other one, you mentioned a checklist for the
Range housing?
the range housing. Have you talked with Dosh on that, or have you shared that with Dosh, that checklist?
Yes, and this checklist has been in the pipeline for quite some time. I don't know if they've seen the final version, but we did have as we were developing that checklist, specifically as it pertains to water and to, excrement, sewer, those types of things. We did have a meeting with the Department of Health, with Juan's team and with CRS to make sure that we understood what the state requirements were. And so I don't know if they've seen the final version, but we're happy to share it.
Thank you.
Yep. I think maybe Ignacio was next.
Good morning. Just kind of along the same lines as Uriel. I know that the rule is interim right now, but do you plan on having some sort of fact sheet for both workers and employers so that they understand the new rules and how they should be moving forward? I mean, especially for workers themselves, because it's going to be quite different for both foreign workers and U.S. workers.
Yeah, so as far as a fact sheet, we don't have like for example, like a regulatory updates like reference. How we've been responding to inquiries, particularly about the housing adjustment and about the experience and staggering, et cetera, is we have been doing consultations with employers, and our compliance team has been building kind of topic specific presentations. We just actually demoed one last week on the adverse housing adjustment. And obviously with the disclaimers of, this is not legal advice, this is not, make sure you check with your agent, check with your attorney, but, this is what's changed. This is, what's different now. So a lot of that work has been directly with the employer. We've obviously updated our site visit outline to include these, kind of newer themes. But we haven't developed a fact sheet. But if that's something that maybe would be helpful, given our other resources, I don't think it'd be a heavy lift to do that.
I think it's just helpful for both employers and workers. More workers. Workers are going to be looking at their check stubs and not seeing or not realizing, yeah, your wage is not the same as it was last year because we have so many returning workers.
That's right. And, a frequently asked question is, well, if the worker, if HOA workers are declining the employer provided housing, does that adjustment apply? And the answer is yes. My understanding is that it's tied to their to the visa status and not to whether whether they're in fact benefiting from the free housing.
Bertha, this is Delia. I'm sorry. Can you clarify that? So H2A workers, you're saying if they live off-site, right, then the housing still adjustment still applies. They still get paid the 1713. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. And I just want to I want to second what Ignacio and UDL are stating. I think as an employer, I think it would be very beneficial to have kind of that cheat sheet. Let's talk about these are the basics, because there has been so many changes, and a lot of it I think is interpretation of what the rule means. I think it would be great clarification to make sure that us employers are doing it correctly and that we're understanding it the way it's actually meant to be.
Yes, and I hear you. And I think that I don't know what to expect as far as how much is going to change between the interim final rule and the final rule. I mean, I maybe others can speak to that and what they expect, but it's not final until it's final, and right now it's just kind of not quite final. And so, but once we get the final rule, then I hear you. If that would be a helpful thing to develop, we will. In the meantime, call our compliance specialists. Like I said, we're developing these products. These they're really sharp. Our team is piloting using AI for narration, and I mean they're really good. So we're happy to share those. Those are made for employers.
Bertha, just along the same lines, this is Michelle. I appreciate, thank you, Ignacio, for raising it. I do think for workers, there's going to be a lot of confusion.
Yeah, agree.
Especially the fact that the 1713, though, is the floor, and that there shouldn't be additional adjustments or deductions, whatever you want to call them, for housing costs below that level. And I just think that's going to be an area of confusion because I hear it out in the community, people thinking, oh, they're going to get a deduction for housing. And since most of the contracts that the wage is 1713 an hour, there won't be an additional deduction. Right. But I do think that's going to be an area of confusion, and it would be really helpful to have that on that confirmation on something.
Very good point. And I see Joy popping on. Go ahead, Joy.
Yeah, I just Susanna mentions sent a note saying that this is one of the topics that we will also be covering in site visits with the workers so that they have better understanding of what's going on, and also with the employers that we're meeting with. And as Bertha said, it is an interim final rule, which means they're acting on it, but it is still open to change. And we are waiting to see what happens with that, what happens with comments, and as it becomes finalized. And hopefully we get some good direction before the season really kicks in, but we're never quite sure. So, all right. I know John has had his hand up for a bit, though.
Thanks, Joy. Thanks, Bertha. My question is about the field check changes. Sounds like we're going to have more discussion about that later. But I do have a question. Do you think that the barrier to having an immediate response to maintain that 100% check record on placements is from getting notice that a placement has occurred, or is it just making your staff resources available so we can start thinking about what will be the issues that need to be addressed in order to maintain that full rate on placements of conducting field checks?
That's a good question, and I would say the former. So even, I mean, now we're able to get out there. We're able to mobilize very, very quickly. Usually we do these in groups of 4 because we have a like a field side of it, and then we have a more of an audit style payroll side of things. But the I think what we're really focusing on is the internal processes between ASWS, including our foreign labor certification team, and workforce services. Obviously, the referrals, the applicants and the referrals made to these job orders are going to be made by WorkSource staff more than likely. And so we have an internal process. We actually had a lean event in 2023 where we basically mapped out the process and made improvements to it so that we have to depend on workforce services to be able to make the screen the applicant, make the referral, follow up on the outcome, and enter all of that into the system, and then communicate that outcome to our foreign labor certification team. So our foreign labor certification team can note that in our case management system and then notify our compliance team. And really the turnaround on all of that is just a few days, or it should be just a few days. And you'll hear later from Tim and from Alberto, they have brand new staff in those roles, and we've met them, and we think we're looking forward to really an excellent working relationship. But really, it's going to be tightening up the ESD internal processes to make sure that we're getting timely notifications, because the fact of the matter is that our data shows that the domestic placements are not there for a length of time. For example, it's very normal for those placements to work a few days and then separate from the employer. So we have a short window, and so we need to be able to pounce basically and be able to do the check at that time. And also, before we dispatch, 4 people to drive across the state and do these field checks, we're going to need there's also a piece on our side where we speak with the employer and confirm that the placement is still working. So the system, I think, is good. Now we just got to ensure that everybody's trained and everybody understands their roles and responsibilities. And I have no doubt that interdivisionally we can get that done.
Great, thank you.
Yes, sir. Delia, go ahead.
Sorry. Just to kind of go back to Michelle's question or comment, she had stated local workers, housing, the confusion. I guess I just want to make sure I'm understanding it as well. So local workers who, let's say they come up from, they can't return home and they do live in company provided housing, no housing deduction or adjustment can be applied to them, correct?
Correct.
Or
Correct.
okay.
No housing adjustment can be applied to US-based workers. The adjustment is only for foreign workers.
Even though they live in company provided housing because they're not able to return home, it still wouldn't apply. Correct. Okay. So
and I'm happy to get you the citation of how I know that. I don't know off the top of my head, but I can send it to you so that you can have a reference.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify. That's why I understood it, but I just wanted to make sure that I was on the same page.
All right. Any other questions regarding 2026 at ASWS? All right. Thank you very much. I believe, excuse me, one more thing. So discontinuation of services, that's also my area to report out on. So our tracker started over because our program year started over on 10/1. So from 10/1 to 1/1, ESD has initiated 0 discontinuation of services. And I see a question from Rosalinda.
Yes, and this is like something I just read in the news that I wanted to bring up, and because I think it might have impact um I guess I'm asking the question if it will impact ASWS, the fact that the Washington Growers League and WAFLA have merged as one organization. You know, that's is it a farm labor contracting organization? Is it a what kind of an organization, and what types of representation are allowed on the ASWS committee? I'm just bringing it up because I think we should cons give some consideration to this.
I was looking to see if Mr. Gampler had joined us yet today, but he has not. So, given this is fresh news, I think Bertha forwarded it on to us just yesterday. Um, we have a little exploration to do as well, and we can talk about that at our next meeting. Or if Mike joins us later and wants to discuss it later in the open part for members, we can do that too.
Yeah, I guess it's depends on how the what do you call it, the legislative language is written on representation in the ASWS committees. So that's kind of what I want to review, so that because there was also before there was a suggestion to bring in other folks, other organizations and representation. So now I think this is concerning about really what is labor representation and how balanced is it? Will it be in the ASWS committee? That's the reason I want to discuss it, just to review that. So I don't know that we have enough time today, but I just want to get it on the agenda at some point. Thank you.
Okay, absolutely. We can add that to a future agenda.
Thanks, Joy. I think Susanna's up. Excuse me, Petra is up.
Thank you, Bertha. Good morning, everyone. As you know, my name is Petra Meraz. I'm the Foreign Labor Certification Program Supervisor. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't think my camera is on for some reason. Excuse me about that. And like I was saying, my name is Petra Meraz. I am the Foreign Labor Coordinator Supervisor, and today I'll be reporting out on the H-2A data. Next slide. Thank you. And as you can see here, as of December 31st, we have received and processed 113 applications in total. Of the 66 remaining in request status, that's indicating that these applications are still in progress. We're still working on them. 45 of these applications have been approved by ESD and certified by DOL, Department of Labor, and 2 of those applications have been withdrawn by the employer. Next slide, please. And these are the number of applications and workers requested by the order holding offices. As you can see, Central Basin has 31 applications received and processed, and those applications were for 6,754 workers requested. And next to leading to the higher number of applications and workers is Yakima, and you can see the rest of the list. Next slide, please. And these are the number of active job orders. We have 11 contracts that are active with 232 workers requested. And as you are all aware, we are in the peak season and we are continuing to receive more applications. So every day we get more applications that we will be reporting out on the next meeting. This is all my report. Any questions? Thank you. Susana?
Oh, hello. Can you hear me? Let me see if you see my camera. Oh, I think Rosalinda has a question. Go ahead, Rosalinda.
I was just looking at the email we got from Vicky, and I didn't see an attachment with the slides. So I'm assuming we will be getting these slides, correct?
Hi, Rosalinda. This is Vicky. Yeah, the slide deck was not completed at the time that meeting minutes and the agenda and the draft schedule went out. So after this meeting, I will go ahead and post them online in a PDF format and send out that link for you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I guess I'm going next. Hello, everybody. Happy 2026. I'm Susana Rodriguez, and I'm one of the compliance unit supervisors. And let's go ahead and we can start going through the data, and then I can take notes to follow up with the trifle. So go to the next slide, please. So then here you are able to see that the team has been continue doing the site visits for the reporting period. And then we have been able to reach 1,926 workers. We had 2 field checks during this time, and this was based off 1 job placement per each field check. So if we take a look at the total complaints received, we had a total of 31 complaints, where 20 were informally resolved and 10 of them were referred to other agencies. And the other agencies were mainly DOL, Labor and Industries, Human Rights Commission. And then we are breaking down the number of complaints by topic. We have 15 under the other section, and in the next one we'll explain what other means. 6 of them were wage related, 3 of them were healthy and safety, 2 of them discrimination, retaliation, two of them human trafficking, and 1 of them was regarding fraud. So go ahead and go to the next one. That way they can see the breakdown in the topics. So yes, in the other one, in the other section, you can see that these are the topics that were involved. 6 of them were worker termination, 5 worker recruitment, supervisor misconduct, and 1 of them was regarding no breaks. And that will be the total of 15 complaints. And I can go to the next one. That way I can start explaining a little bit about the data collection form. This is the time period. And just to clarify, this is a raw data that we get straight from the employer. So we have total workers requested 2,558 and received were 2,304. And that is in the bottom section, you see the breaking down. Numbers of workers requested match per job orders. 15 of them did not match. And then let's go ahead with percentage. 45 of them did not match, and then 55% they do match. And then if we move to the housing location, I'm very excited that the majority, 97%, they do match. And then in the worksite location, then again, we have a high number, 94% of the worksite locations data, they do match. And just a small percentage, 6%, they didn't match. And that could be maybe for a human error or something happened that we only get the data from the employer as is. And we don't manipulate this data. Does anybody have any questions regarding the data reported?
Susanna, I'm sure that you don't have this information, but I was just wondering, how do these complaints or this information, this data compare to non-H2A complaints that you receive? I just wondering whether, I mean, because you work in ASWS, so most of these are all H2A related. Um, are they in par with what's going on with non-H2A?
You're talking about the complaints, correct?
Complaints and everything that you're providing. It's just interesting. I mean, it's great that you're tracking this, but I don't know if there's another person tracking this for non-H2A.
Bertha, do you wanna go ahead, please?
I used to have a better read on this because I was interim state monitor advocate for about a year and a half, and I did the reporting to USDOL for both the H2A related and the non-H2A related. But now that we have a permanent state monitor advocate, I've kind of lost track of that. So maybe that could be addressed by Workforce Services during their segment. We are not positioned to make that comparison. We do H2A related complaints only.
Thanks.
Okay, and then Rosalinda?
Well, that was actually a good question. That wasn't going to be what I was going to talk about, but is it possible for us to request that there be a report either from Labor and Industry or the Advocate Monitor to bring that kind of a report to the committee on a regular basis, maybe on a quarterly basis?
That would be a request outside of ASWS. So I see Alberto popped on, and maybe he could speak to that.
Yeah, so let me just make sure I captured this request correct. So it's a report that speaks to our complaint activity. Essentially, is that what you're talking about? Because I know
for domestic workers.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it. You know, funny thing that you state that, Rosalinda, actually before that question was brought up, we're getting prepared to do our report out, and we did not include complaint data for today, but I did note to the team when I was looking at this presentation, we need to provide that information to you. So from where I sit, that's not an issue. We're happy to provide that in future meetings.
That's great. Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes.
So on this thing, these numbers that you're giving us, these are quarterly. This is for the last quarter of 2025 only. Is that correct?
Yeah,
This slide.
Oh, go ahead, Bertha.
Oh, excuse me, Susan. I didn't mean to go over you there. So this slide, only the House Bill 2226 data regarding workers requested versus workers received. The statute requires us to report this quarterly to you. So yes, this slide only is quarterly, but the other slides, the previous slides, are cumulative for this program year, which started on 10/1.
Okay, then can you let us know how many growers reported these numbers? Like these are numbers, this is voluntary information, right? So I'm just curious about what are the numbers of the growers? How many total growers voluntarily reported this information?
Well, it's not voluntary. They have to report it during. Well, we have to. I mean, the statute states that we've got to collect it during each site visit and each field check, and we haven't had any. Luckily, you know, and this speaks to our relationships with employers. We haven't had anybody decline to give this information. So, as far as like unique growers, like how many. You're right, it's not included on this slide, but we could easily look up that information.
I think that would be great to include it because it gives you the whole picture in the total number of farmers and growers out there. How many, where, you know, how does that compare with the numbers?
Well, and then also please keep in mind that this is only for the site visits and the field checks. And you know, usually from October to about February, we're not, you know, that's not peak season for site visits and field checks. So you know, the number of employers will depend on how many site visits or field checks we did during that quarter. So these numbers are going to be much, much bigger in the summer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rosalinda. Yeah, and then, you know, the more feedback that the committee has regarding this, how we can report better, how we can better process this data is helpful. So then, yeah, we're taking that feedback, Rosalinda. That way we can get that soon. Okay, so that is my last slide regarding the trifle. I think somebody asked. Yes, so then it was pretty much finalized. However, due to the last updates from DOL and then some staffing internally with our program, we have to update numbers and have that way workers know who to call in the area. So yes, there's some information regarding LNI, just paid sick time and overtime. However, I can send that to the program to employment standards. That way they can just review quickly and then see if it's good to go. That was the only update needed, correct? Uriel, do you have any other questions regarding this resource?
No, thank you. I mean, no.
Yeah, but that, just so you know, the document is heavily tailored to H2A terminology. That because we didn't want to explain too much about other agencies, other programs, but then definitely we will share that with you as soon as completely finalized. That way you can take a look and then you are more familiar.
Okay. I mean, yeah, just making sure, like, I mean, you used to work for us, so all the different departments that anything that's in there to make sure that we are directing the workers to the right place. So,
Sounds good. All right, I don't see any hands up, so then I will be disappearing. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Susanna. Alberto, would you like to take over for Workforce Services Division?
I would. Thank you, Joy. Good morning, everyone. Alberto Isiordia, Assistant Director of Operations for our Workforce Services Division. Really excited today to provide this committee and those attending from the public an update on our Workforce Services Division and specifically our services to farm workers. My goal today is to do two things. One is to update you on the staffing changes in our division that are impactful to operation of agricultural clearance orders and migrant seasonal farm worker outreach. And then also to just provide you a brief overview of our outreach efforts and to explain how we're going to continue to build on that reporting for the future. I want to start by talking about two key individuals that this committee has got to engage with and have transitioned. First is Craig Carroll. Craig Carroll in the summer transitioned to our product planning and performance division. He is now functioning as an organizational change leader, and we're really thankful, obviously, for all his support to our division, and also thankful that he remains in the agency, obviously, just in a different role. At the same time, also 3 months later in this fall, Maria Maravilla, who you've also met as a facilitator, transitioned within the agency to our Equal Opportunity Office. She is now an Equal Opportunity Consultant. And so, needless to say, this prompted the need for us to adjust roles and to recruit in our division. And so, this past fall in September, if we can go to the next slide, please. We were joined by Tim Probst. Tim Probst, we're very thankful to have him in our division, brings a wealth of experience. He's been with our agency for several years, and I'll give each one of these individuals an opportunity to introduce themselves shortly. But Tim joined us in September and luckily came with a lot of experience and hit the ground running, because not only did he join our team and need to learn the role in this capacity, but also he was in need to recruit. He was in need to recruit Maria Maravilla's position that became vacant, and then a new position that was approved through the decision package to enhance our agricultural services. Some of the work that Bertha referenced earlier in her excitement, and we're equally excited to partner on enhancing the way we process clearance orders. There was a need to fill that role. And thankfully, I'm happy to report to you that Tim's done an excellent job and has been able to fill those roles with two outstanding individuals, both with experience doing this type of work that they're assigned to do. I'll start with Chelsea Detweiler. Chelsea works as our Wagner-Pizer Programs Support Specialist, so the role that Maria Maravilla left behind. And Chelsea has a wealth of experience. Again, she'll talk about her experience shortly, but that does include recently working at our WorkSource JBLM office, the only office in the nation that is stationed inside the gates of a military installation. And so really excited to have her part of the team. And then also we were joined by Jenna Arga. Also comes from one of our local offices and brings a wealth of experience to the role. So there's a lot of work to be done. I'm thankful that I have 3 experienced team members jumping in, and we're looking forward to, as a result, enhance the way we bring information to this committee and do the work for our customers. So with that, Tim, I'll turn it over to you if you don't mind introducing yourself.
Thanks, Alberto, and thanks to the whole committee. We are sort of a brand new team, which has all the pluses and minuses that go with that. But one thing I really want to commit to you is that all 3 of us, like the rest of the bigger team, are very focused on service to our customers and service to all the folks we work with. So as we're getting underway here, if you have things that you loved how they were done and you want to make sure they keep getting done that way, please let us know. And if you have things you'd like to change, and like the reporting on the complaints, for example, we're very happy to work with you and make sure that we're delivering what you're looking for. I know all 3 of us are really excited to be doing this important work that makes a difference in lives all across the state. And with that, I'll hand off to Jenna.
Hi, yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Jenna Argot. I am the new Agricultural Services Coordinator. I will be working, well, my main focus will be with the clearance order process out to our offices and working very closely with the migrant seasonal staff that is doing the activities. Thank you.
And then let's go ahead to Chelsea.
Hello, everyone. Chelsea Detweiler, new Wagner Pizer Program Support Specialist. I'm really excited to be in this space doing this work, getting up to speed with what's going on with this committee, and supporting Jenna a lot in the work that this committee is doing and being part of it as well. So.
Thank you, Chelsea. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Jenna. Again, what our team's here to support you, and I want to emphasize one, they're just coming with a wealth of experience. I'm excited for them to join me in supporting you and our customers, but also we're very lucky to still have Craig and Maria that are just a call away, and we just continue to really appreciate their support as well. Next slide, please. So here's an overview of our current outreach performance. You'll see that in program year 24, from July 24th to June 25, we conducted 1,400 outreach days and 25,000 outreach contacts. And when you look at our performance starting in July of 25 to December, that's a 6-month period. We're slightly under that performance, not by a lot, but we certainly are. You could see we're currently have performed 638 outreach days and about 11,000 outreach contacts. Some of that slight reduction in performance is we have had some turnover in the MSFW program. We have full-time and part-time staff, and some of our staff in the Skagit region and one staff member in the Columbia Gorge region did pursue other opportunities. So that did cause a temporary gap in performance, but we're really excited to see those roles now filled. And so, yeah, hoping that we'll see that pick up in the future. Next slide, please. And this slide currently just breaks down the performance of our 6 migrant seasonal farm worker significant offices. You'll see overall that their performance relatively has remained consistent to what their levels were last year. Those offices remain stable. We have not had turnover in those offices, and so that certainly enabled us to have some continuity of service. Next slide. So one of the adjustments that we'll be making is we have staff in what we call our significant offices, right? Not my favorite term, because I believe all our outreach is significant across the state. But as I've reported in the past, one of the things that we've done is we've spread outreach responsibilities to all offices, and that requires us to change the way we report. In the past, we were only focused on reporting to those significant offices, but now starting January 1st, we are requesting all offices report their outreach efforts. So this will enable us to give you a more robust accounting of our outreach efforts. So you won't see us just focusing on telling you what our significant offices did. We will be able to tell you what our efforts look like across the state. So we are excited about bringing about that change. We're also happy to bring about our continue to consistently report out on our complaint activity. We've done that in past meetings, and so looking forward to making those adjustments. With that, that concludes my presentation for today, and I will pause here temporarily to see if anyone has any questions that we can respond to.
Morning, Alberto. It's Ignacio.
Good morning, Ignacio.
Hey, just in future reports, are you planning to report anything on how many farm workers are being served through WorkSource, or do you have that data just to kind of see what the trends are looking like?
We're happy to do that.
Yeah, and especially I don't know whether it falls under your division or your unit, what are you doing outreach as far as letting farm workers know about H-2A job opportunities also?
I'm not clear on that at this time. I know this was a hot topic for today, and I think my thought is that if it's not happening, we should be, because we just don't know who is and is not, attached to an H-2A job order, right? And so it's certainly something that I can commit we'll look into, and we're happy to aid those efforts. We work really closely with our ASWS office, and so I would think that if obviously their efforts are going to be more important, they're directly engaging with these employers, but at the same time, we're happy to supplement those efforts as well where we can.
Yeah, thanks. And as far as your outreach, when you're doing outreach, I'm assuming you're providing your contacts, MSFW, your farm worker contacts with information about H-2A job opportunities, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's just it's a requirement, right? We promote all job opportunities within agriculture and outside of agriculture. And needless to say, there are a lot of H-2A related jobs or agricultural clearance orders in our agricultural area. So yes, we consistently promote those efforts in our offices and outside during outreach.
Okay, thanks.
Rosalinda?
So we're hearing increasingly more and more. We're hearing desperate calls from farm workers, especially in Eastern Washington and the Quincy area, of not having any work, not finding work, and their jobs being displaced by H-2A workers. Literally, from one day to the next, they'll be told not to come in the next day because the H-2A workers have arrived. Are there any mechanisms anywhere to try to track the displacement of local workers by the H-2A program?
I welcome Bertha's thoughts on this question as well. From where I sit, the primary method for us is if there are any complaints or even just apparent violations, we would want to track it through that method. But statistically, from a data perspective, I don't know that we do that. And at least we certainly don't do it, but Bertha might.
I'm just wondering about the whole thing that we've been working so hard and try to promote agricultural work and jobs to local farm workers, and developing a program where, workers come in and they actually find a job. And so this whole thing about, keeping track of how many domestic workers are coming in to look for work or apply for unemployment or whatever. I think that those numbers, who are your offices serving? And it doesn't appear that we've reached that goal or even getting close to the goal of increasing the opportunities for local farm workers. Poverty rate is growing, and we're just getting more and more calls from farm workers that have been working for 15 to 20 years in some cases on farms. So anyway, I'm just bringing that up because we have to continue this discussion. I feel like we've really failed. We've really failed our farm worker families that have been in Washington State, in some cases, for generations.
I appreciate those thoughts, Rosalinda. And certainly that is a challenge and a shared challenge, right, for various reasons. The one thing we can do for future report outs, and I heard some similarities between your statement and Ignacio's request, is for us to report more on our services through WorkSource. So how many farm workers are we serving? How many individuals are we referring to those clearance orders? What does that activity look like? And so we can look into that and see how we can enhance our reporting for the future. So really appreciate that feedback.
I mean, it's got to be really clear that the workers you're outreaching to are local farm workers, not H-2A workers. There's got to be like a separation of your reporting of who it is that you're serving, when and how.
Absolutely. And I think I can say that our focus is, at least for our workforce services division, our priority are domestic workers, right? We can't guarantee that because we don't ask people, right? But our efforts really center on domestic workers.
Why can't you ask?
If somebody's a domestic worker or an H-2A worker, I think it's about relationship building more than anything when we do outreach. It's not like we can't gather that information, but it's not something that we advise our staff to lead with.
I'm hoping that we can have more discussion on this because that is like that just doesn't make sense to me. If your focus is domestic workers, and it seems to me that your priority is domestic workers, you need to ask.
That becomes pretty easy in our WorkSource center. If they come in, that is part of our standard protocols. So in a WorkSource center, if we're going to provide you a service, we have a standard registration process that's required by the Department of Labor. So 100% correct if we're providing a service, but if we're just providing information only, we're not providing necessarily a service and we're conducting outreach. That's where, how much information people choose to share with us, even their name, and it's really optional, right? But I'd be happy to unpack that more with you, Rosalinda. We can schedule some time, and yeah, we'd be happy to get more feedback from you.
Thank you, Alberto.
I would like to unpack it in the committee,
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
So that if there's solutions and ways that we can figure this out, we should do it within this process that we've got going here.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if I'll leave it to the committee, right? If you want to have a conversation about this, we're happy to do that.
This is Jeff Peral. I just wanted to make a point that there recently, just within the last few months, there's been two very large cases here in Yakima County due to displacement of workers. So there's a system that's working as is now. I just wanted to make that point that, I mean, if there is such a large issue with this, then why is the Attorney General not going after it?
Let's put this on an agenda for our next meeting or the meeting right after that, and let's unpack some of the information about what we do have, what our limits are within the different offices, and how we're working to combine our resources effectively where there are still gaps, such as both of you have mentioned. And yeah,
I think that a vast majority of growers are abiding by the rules of the H-2A program and doing a good job. So I guess my glass is half full on this.
Yeah, my questions is actually focused on the process of the offices, the employment security. I mean, the offices that Alberto's overseeing, and the focus being domestic workers. Then, I think it's a bigger picture. I guess I'm talking about the process that we're saying here with ESD specifically. The farmers, and you're right, Jeff, I mean, there's that process with H2A. But on the other hand, this is an office that's supposed to be prioritizing domestic workers and the ability to be able to work to find them jobs or secure their have them have job security. That's another essential component of this committee. And I just want to try to see it's not working. So why? What can we do? Because we have communities of farm workers that have been here a long time. I just think there's a way to have both be working well so that we
Right.
can see the truth. So I think it's worth the time to try to figure it out. We've been trying to do this since the committee was founded, and I feel like as a farm worker who grew up in Washington State and know many others, I feel like I owe it to my community to try to figure it out in this process.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay. I think we are going to take back a note, especially now that we have the WSD farm worker team with Tim and Chelsea and Jenna rebuilt here. We should bring to you how we are braiding all the different services together and how we are pulling all that together so that you can see how ESD as a whole is approaching this. So we will prepare that for a future meeting and make that a discussion item. How's that?
I support that, Joy, and I think that really does go to the heart of kind of one of our main priorities as a committee is,
It
we
absolutely
worked
does.
hard to improve it. It sounds like there's some people dedicated to that now, and I think really getting more into that would be very helpful.
All right.
We're hearing, we're hearing similar things, to Rosalinda, and I hear you, Jeff, but those cases from the AG's office are the ones that have risen to the top and that they have decided are priorities enough to bring them. It doesn't mean those are the only examples of workers not being able to get significant employment enough to support their families
Yeah.
out of farm work. I mean, we are seeing some real issues there. Anyway, so I would appreciate that too.
Okay. We will book it for a future meeting.
With that, thank you, everyone. I look forward to bringing more information with the team on this topic. And Joy, thank you again for inviting us.
Absolutely. All right. Let's go to the next slide. I think we are getting ready. Okay, so we're ready to begin talking about the agenda, or not the agenda, the meeting schedule and such, but we are doing pretty good on time. Would the committee like to take a 10-minute break?
I would.
You would? Okay.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and take a break. We will come back at, when my clock says 10:30, currently says 10:18, we will come back online. Okay? Vicki,
Sounds
would you
good.
please pause the recording? Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. The remainder of our meeting time today is mostly going to be talking about the committee's schedule, working into the next part of the year, or through this year with our report writing schedule in mind, and then some quick updates on the environment around us. But first, since we are talking about committee business, we should roll back and do our roll call and our minutes approval. So, Vicki, would you please call the roll?
Absolutely. Thank you, Joy. John Devaney.
Present.
Mike Gempler. Delia Pena.
I see Delia's on. She might not be back online just yet.
Elizabeth Strader. Edgar Franks.
Here.
Michelle Besso.
I'm here. Thank you.
Rosalind again.
Present.
Jeff Peralt.
Here.
Ignacio Marquez.
Here.
Juan Gamez.
Here.
Uriel Iniguez.
Here.
And circling back to Delia Pena. Okay, Joy. I know Delia's here, although we do need a voice vote. Even without hers, we still have a quorum. So
excellent. All right. Could you please bring forward the minutes
Absolutely.
from the previous meeting? Was this November? It was November. Okay. So on screen now are the minutes from the November meeting. Committee members received this in their packet a couple days ago. If this meets with folks' expectations and there are no corrections, I would entertain a motion to approve these minutes.
This is John Devaney. I move to approve.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Rosalinda. All right. All in favor of approving the minutes from the November meeting, please say aye.
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 I
Any opposed? Please say nay. And there are none opposed. Excellent. Thank you very much. All right, let's go to the committee schedule. Bertha, would you like to join me to talk about this?
I would.
Excellent.
So January is traditionally our planning month, even though we're in 2026. This is the last meeting of our 2025 schedule, which means that we will need action today from the committee to adopt a 2026 meeting schedule. We have collected feedback and preferences from these meetings, from hearing from committee members, and so we had created a matrix of if this then that, and yes this no that. And so I think that we have a proposed schedule that will hopefully be mutually or acceptable to everybody on the committee. But it was sent in advance with your committee materials, and I think Vicki, we have it on a slide here. Is that right? Okay, so this is the proposed schedule, and I know you can read, but just walking through this, the schedule includes 2 in-person meetings, both occurring at Maple Park in Olympia, and those would be in March, which would be the actual next meeting. There would be no February meeting, and in August. You'll notice that those times have been adjusted a little bit later in the morning to give our commuters some more time, 11 o'clock to 3 o'clock. And we're proposing that would include hopefully a working lunch, just to be able to keep everybody there. The others would be virtual meetings in kind of an every other month format. Let's see here, in bold, Thursday, July 23rd, this is, and Vicki, correct me if I'm wrong, this is a potential special, well, part of our regular schedule, but inserted here, you'll notice that there's 2 in July, just in case we need to meet to approve the ASWS report. Our report is published on October 31st. So we are working backward from that date. And so really our target is to have a draft approved in July so that it can go through OPFM review, so it can go through our internal review and accessibility review. There's quite a lot to it. So we just want to make sure that we have another available date in case we need to, in case we need it. And if we don't, then we may cancel it. So the remaining Zoom meetings would be during this time from 9 to 12. So please think about, how this time feels to you. In the morning, I know that in years past, we've had them in the afternoon. So this proposed schedule seems to check all of the boxes that we were presented with. So I'd like to entertain some feedback or some questions, and ultimately a motion to approve.
I also want to shout out to Vicky for doing all the math and all the arranging of the different requirements and date barriers that we had throughout this. And she did an utter yeoman's job to pull this sucker together. So thank you very much, Vicky, for that. What do our committee members think? Have you had a chance to review this? Yes.
This is Rosalinda, and I think it's a good schedule. I mean, it fits my year.
Good. Good. Does the 11 a.m. time for Olympia work well for folks who need to come over for the day?
Much better, thank you.
All right.
No, that seems reasonable. Thank you.
All right. John.
Thanks. I think the overall schedule looks good. I have a conflict on the 6th. Also in the afternoon, the State Food Policy Forum is meeting that day and that afternoon, which I am the vice chair of, and I think I'll be chair that month. And so I'm not taking that on in July. So I'm not sure I'll be able to skip that meeting. Is there any possibility of moving that to a Wednesday instead of a Thursday? Otherwise, I might have to miss an in-person meeting, which I hate doing.
Vicky, do you know of any barriers to moving that to Wednesday, August 5th?
Off the top of my head, no, but if, well, you guys continue to discuss, let me pause the slide deck so I can go check a couple of calendars, and then I will be right back and get back.
All right, sounds good.
Same question to other committee members, because I don't want to make it work for me and then lose 2 other people.
That is true.
For the in-person meetings, will there be an option of virtual also, or is it only in person?
If we're doing it at Maple Park, we have the ability to do virtual as needed. There is value in having us all together in the room, though. So as much as possible, I would encourage that we be physically together, but if it simply cannot happen, we'd rather have you participating. Does that make sense? Actually, I should probably have turned that question to your fellow committee members. I know it's been the sentiment of the committee that our in-person meetings, as much as possible, we wanted to have them be physically in the same room. But yeah.
I would say that in-person meetings are great, but Jeff is a hop grower, and that's probably a rough time of year for him to be taking.
Got it. Okay, completely makes sense. Completely makes sense. No, I mean, you can't control the weather and you can't control the schedule of the crops growing. So we get it completely. Are there any other known conflicts other than August 6th? Suppose I should look at my own calendar.
So, Joy,
yeah,
to moving it to a different day during the week of August 3rd through the 7th, we're running into ELT meetings, which hits a lot of our agency staff, including yourself.
So I can get permission to move or to miss an ELT meeting. Dan, my boss, is on here, and he can tell me if I'm wrong.
The other option, that if we can push it out a week to the 13th, same time, same place, I believe that's all clear from 11 to 3, if that works for the committee.
Okay. It may also be that people need a minute to go back and double check on their calendars.
I was
Yeah.
momentarily distracted. Could you repeat that last, what Vicky said?
Vicky suggested that an alternate to Wednesday, August 5th may be the following Thursday, August 13th.
That would work for me.
Okay. All right, we have thumbs up from Delia. Thumbs up from John. Would the committee like us to put that meeting on Thursday, August 13th instead?
That works for me. This is Michelle.
All right, let's go ahead and we will make that change. I'm not going to ask Vicky to do it while the slide deck is live, so it will be changed. But with that, if this schedule is acceptable, I would entertain a motion for the schedule as proposed with the change of August 6th to August 13th. We'd need a motion and a second and then a voice vote.
John, I'll move approval of the amended schedule.
Thank you, Jeff.
John.
John?
Yeah.
Yes.
Jeff, I second.
And Jeff. All right, great. Thank you so much. All in favor of the schedule, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Please say nay. Hearing none, schedule as amended is approved. Thank you very much. We will get save the dates out for everyone as soon as possible, and the meeting rooms in Maple Park we will get secured as quickly as we can. All
Now
right.
the in-person meeting is August 13th from 11 to
3.
3. Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
And
Thank you.
that will be adjusted in the slides that we send out and in any further communication we send out. Okay. All right. Let's go to the next slide. Okay. So this is just a header slide. We wanted to leave some space because there's been a lot happening since November, when we last met. Let me first discuss disaster recovery updates. As you all know, over half the counties in the state were affected by flooding in December, and it reached the level of an emergency order from the governor's office and emergency management being escalated at the state level to assist with the disaster mitigation and recovery throughout. As we all know as well, the Northwest particularly was hard hit with the flooding, and the farm worker community up there was particularly impacted. We know that this is happening at the county level as far as recovery and getting things back on track. Couple of the things that we do know as well is that today being January 15th, today was the day that the Emergency Management Division for the state was aiming to submit to the federal government the request for a major disaster declaration and individual assistance that would be added to that. That is the type of assistance that allows for housing, for cash payments, and also disaster unemployment assistance to help cover the gap for folks whose job was impacted by those floods. Disaster unemployment assistance it has the direct connection to Employment Security Department. We are the division that we are the agency that implements that. So if that does come to pass, we will be setting that up and getting that out to folks. I'm not going to go into deep detail on it because everything depends on how exactly the order comes down from the federal government with what is included and what is not. And then we have to do a couple quick reviews to make sure that we can estimate about how many folks would be benefiting from that program. But if that does happen, we will be doing outreach, and Rosalinda especially, and Edgar, we will probably be connecting with you to ensure that your domestic workers have an opportunity to receive that information as well. Vicki, please remind me that I said that, because that means I need to send a note over to our admin services division so I don't lose track of that topic. All right. And then I believe in a couple weeks, the public assistance application will also go in, and that's some of the more government level and business level reimbursements and such that would happen. But from what I hear, we are continuing forward. Emergency management is doing its usual excellent job of keeping things moving forward at a good pace and wrangling all the different counties and tribes that are involved in this with the information and providing that that communication to the federal government so that we can make use of FEMA resources. All right. Any questions on disaster recovery? I may not be able to answer them, but I'll try. All right, hearing none. Legislative and policy.
No, I just wanted to say thank you for that information.
Oh, absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, legislative and policy. It is day 4 session. And there have been several hundred bills already introduced this session. I do not yet have notice of any that directly impact the way that ASWS will be working. There are some that we are obviously keeping our eyes on. A couple in particular would be a series of bills regarding immigrant worker protections. We will be keeping an eye on those as a topic, and also updates and clarifications to the bill that passed last year, Senate Bill 5525, that was the state level layoff notices, the WARN notices, clarifying information on that and such. We are watching those bills and continuing to keep what this committee has given us in mind as we are providing input on technical assistance and such for those bills. But I don't have a specific list to talk with you about at this point. If there are bills that you have in mind particularly that you believe may affect the way that the agency would work, please do mention them. Okay. I wasn't sure if there was going to be more to put into this update at the time that we were building this agenda out, but so far it's been a little bit quiet. So where I had planned for like 45 minutes of talking about this, that is the entirety of my update on legislative policy and disaster recovery. So let's go ahead to the next slide. And I do want to make one mention of a change that we are going to be adding to our site visits. At the November meeting, you saw that we informed you that the ASWS office and our compliance officers were going to be assisting our customer compliance division with the potential for what we saw as a bit of a spike in fraudulent applications coming out of the farm worker community, or tied to the farm worker community and tied to employers. We shared the ways in which you could share information with us so that we could investigate it. We've done quite a bit of investigation on that. I am not completely wrapped in on where exactly we're at, except that it is still ongoing. But one thing that we did learn pretty quickly was that we wanted to add to our site visit scripts a little bit more information for our workers on what the paid family and medical leave program is, what the qualifications are, and what the qualifications are not. So we are working on that information to put it into our usual list of items that we talk about with the workers on site visits, and working to ensure that we hit all the key things so that the workers have good awareness of the program and where they may or may not qualify. Okay. Any questions on that?
will you have that document to share with us before it's presented to workers on site visits?
Susanna, would we be able to do so?
I apologize, I stepped out for a bit. More information regarding this program, the PFMLA.
Yes. Yes. Basically, what our talking points will be for when we're working with the workers on site visits. John was asking if that could be shared.
So the messaging right now, I don't see Bertha, but is pretty much just briefly explaining this is a program available, but they always have to check with the employer to see the requirements. We always gonna connect workers and employers directly to the program. So that is kind of like briefly mention it is available, but we don't want to get into fully details as we want the program itself to explain the requirements and the next steps.
Okay.
Yeah, so we are covering this in our site visits for this season.
Okay.
And
that is the key part of the change, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we're already doing those things, and I don't know if our site visit outline would be, kind of super informative, as it would just be, like on the list of topics that we cover. But we're also happy to annotate, what we present during that. It just won't be on the site visit outline.
Okay. All right. So John, I think we can share something. We'll work on that.
Yeah, I
And
just
of
want
course,
to make sure that the employers are prepared if the substance is just the program exists, and ask your employer for more information so that they're prepared for that.
Understand. All right.
and it will be in Spanish also, correct?
Yes, I believe all of our site visits are.
Almost all of our site visits are in Spanish. Yes.
Yes.
But this is Michelle. I guess I just wondered if there is like a link to where they could get information from the L&I, or in other
In
words, they
Spanish.
shouldn't be completely reliant on the employer to give them information.
Right. From like for the worker, do you have information for workers in Spanish that we can hand out?
I believe we do. Let me find it, and I'll take the action item to get it out to the committee members. What our PFML communication is in both English and Spanish. So I am 99% certain that it is fully in both languages. So, Ignacio.
Yeah, I don't know much about this program, and I don't know exactly how it works, and um but I guess my concern is that, some of these workers may not even be aware that someone is using their information to open up claims. And so in the end, I don't know who will be, asked to return any money, or whatever the consequences may be. But is it possible for an employee to have a claim open without even them knowing? And how do we prevent that from happening with these H-2A workers that just are here one season and then gone, and then all of a sudden they're in trouble?
Right. One of the things that our customer compliance division is very careful for is all manner of identity theft. The situation you're describing, we saw quite a influx of it in unemployment insurance at the beginning of the pandemic. And at that point, identity theft was new in our experience. That had not been a typical manner of fraudulent activity that we were concerned about at volume. Since then, we have greatly strengthened our protections as an agency and all of our programs against identity theft. So those protections also apply to the paid family and medical leave program. They're not perfect. We continue to refine them and get them better and better as time goes on, and also to respond to new ways that fraudsters come up with of getting around them. But it's not a unique challenge in this particular community, Ignacio. If I can connect you with folks in our paid leave office, if that's a question that we need to dive into. But just send me a note and I can make that connection for you.
Yeah, I'm just like I said, I just wonder about these workers that, they're very trusting and, I mean, they use these, I've seen a lot of East-Way workers use these businesses where they're, wiring money to their homes, and some of those businesses have individuals that supposedly are providing legal advice or helping them through their unemployment insurance, or, I mean, not H-2A workers, but US workers. And so
Right.
I've been to those places and I just wonder, it's like, okay, well, what else is happening in here that probably should not be happening? And what, I mean, these workers are going there because they trust them. But if you trust them too much, then you're giving them information that perhaps could be used to, steal their identity.
Right. Right. I don't disagree with you. We see that in a number of places. And that's part of why we have our customer compliance division and the fraud units specifically in there to root out the bad actors in those spaces and to bring them to justice and to hold harmless, to the extent possible, the customers that they've harmed. So, and that is unfortunately as much as I know on customer compliance, because I have been out of the fraud side of policy for quite a while. But we can take a look and see if there's any spikes going on. That's one of the things that I keep track of with my colleagues. All right. Any further questions on this? Okay, if not, I think we are at the public comment and good of the order section of our agenda. So let's go ahead to the public comment slide. All right, if you would like to make a public comment, including any suggested future agenda items, please state your name and spell it so we can capture it correctly for the minutes, as well as the organization you represent. Your comments are being recorded. However, if you'd like your comments to be included in the meeting minutes, please submit them in writing via email to Vicki Carlson at vicky.carlson@esd.wa.gov. Please limit your comments to 2 minutes. Do we have any members of the public who would like to make a comment? Okay. Seeing and hearing none, would any of our committee members have anything they'd like to share for the good of the order? Or are committee members generally excited about getting an hour back in their day? All right, we did take note of future agenda items throughout the course of the meeting today, and we will get those scheduled in. And other than that, unless there is any last comments from the public or a member, we can go ahead and move to adjourn. Rosalinda, did you just come off mute?
Yes, I was gonna say, I really am looking forward to working on this committee again this year.
Good. It's good
And
to
there's a
have you,
lot,
Rosalinda.
there's a lot to be done
Mhm.
because we're not even halfway there. I just want to say
That's true.
we have a lot of work to do to support farm workers in Washington State.
Very good. Also, just personally, if committee members happen to be in Olympia for things, do let us know so we can come say hi in person. All right. Well, with that, I think we will go ahead and move to adjournment. Committee members, you get an hour back in your day. Thank you all very much, and have yourself a good legislative session, and we'll see you after sine die.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.